Let's move that right. Hey, it's Lowry Smith of the CommanderSmiths here with Switcheroo. Today I'll be working with 4 decks. It's going to be Esix, Muldrotha, Rienne, and Sevinne. CommanderSmiths is a weekly podcast live on YouTube Monday nights, audio released Wednesdays on, I believe, all platforms. We talk all things Commander, some finance, Secret Layer, uh, decks, and just philosophy and card choices, anything and everything. We have a really cool Discord. If you want to join our Patreon for at least $1, we give out proxies, the stuff that Adam has made, my co-host and cousin. And um, so yeah. If you aren't watching this live, I suggest watching this in 1.5 speed. This will be under 2 hours, but it if you're not doing anything and you're watching, I don't talk fast. So, 1.5 speed is perfect. If you are, chime in, as we're going along. Either way, it was pretty cool. Let's look at Essex Fractal Bloom. This is a deck that I really like. It's been a lot of fun since it's come out. Essex Fractal Bloom is 4, a green, a blue, 4/4 flyer. The first time you would create one or more tokens during each of your turns, you may instead choose a creature other than Essex Fractal Bloom and create that many tokens that are copies of that creature. And so we'll kind of go through the deck a little bit. We'll skip the lands, but right now we will talk about what I'm taking out and put it in, and then we'll go through the rest of the deck. And if I have any extra cards that I want to fit in, I'll take the help to fit it in or figure it out as we go. So Essex is the one that we will be dealing with here at the beginning. All right, so taking out Occult Epiphany, because here I was thinking it's a little bit of draw. It creates the token flyers that can turn into whatever. But I'm really just um a creature based deck, so I don't have a lot of different types of card types. It's going to be like creatures, lands, and not a whole ton else that I can reliably do. It's not an even deck. And so I felt like paying 3 to get 2 tokens and draw 2 cards this card just wasn't going to be doing enough. And so I'm going to put in Aether Channeler, which is a 2/1 ETB, create a 1/1 white bird token. And basically all that is um, you're able to turn that flyer into an Aether Channeler, which would end up drawing you a card. And then you have like a card draw copy potential. So it creates a token, it draws you a card, and a little bit of removal as well. So it does a lot in this deck, and the choices are nice. So that'll work great. Aether Mutation was something that I tried to fit in. It was a suggestion from CMD Tower, Mr. Combo number 5, back when I featured this deck on their show, and I've just found it to be a little too slow. It can create a lot of tokens, but 5 mana for a piece of removal just isn't there what I need. So I'm going with Canoptech, a Scarab Swarm, which is 4/4/1 flyer. When it ETBs, exile target player's graveyard. For each artifact or land card exiled this way, create a 1/1 colorless insect artifact creature token. And so what you can do is copy it, like have them enter as Canoptic. That's kind of a little bit of a theme here is the creature puts out tokens, turn it into that creature. We exile everybody's graveyard, get more tokens, and it kind of goes from there. So it's kind of nice. It's something that I'm playing around with, and hopefully that's nice. Now, the ones that didn't make it in at this point, Clown Car, I think would be crazy in this deck. So it's X for a 1/1. When it ETBs, you get to roll X 6-sided dice. For each odd result, create 1/1 white Clown Car robot artifact creature. So you're essentially turning those tokens into what anything else on the board, but it's potentially to be awesome. And then for each even result, put a 1/1 counter on Clown Car. Crew 2. Plenty of creatures that are sitting around and not being threatening, so can crew that quite easily. We'll see if we can fit that in. Jahira, Friend of the Forest. Tokens you control have tap, add a green. You get a lot of creatures going, and if you can turn them into mana, it makes you move pretty quick. And then Vanguard Suppressor from the 40k decks. It is 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer, has squad 2, so you can pay 2, it's essentially kicker, 2 to copy it, and as many times as you get that, you get tokens into play that are copies of this. Now, when it deals damage, you get to draw a card. So drawing cards is always important. The thing is like 6 mana for 1 token. It would be this. So like worst case scenario, it's this, or it can be something bigger. Um, this one might probably won't make it. It's a little fat, but should be fun. All right, working our way through the deck, seeing if we can fit these 3 in there anyway, anyhow. I think Jahira's probably my main focus. Next would be Clown Car, and then into Vanguard Suppressor. Um, let's go. Augur of Autumn is fantastic. Just being able to play cards from the top and lands, creatures. Prosperous Innkeeper. This is there because it creates a treasure token, which can just copy them and do it again. So you have 2 of them at least. Top is great. Mirror Battlesphere makes 4 mirror. It's that same thing that we're talking about. So the 4 come into play, turn into Mirror Battlesphere, and there's 4, 8, 12, 16 of them, and 5 of these. So same thing with Master of Waves. It's pretty sweet that way. Doubling the amount of creature tokens that are coming into play, and this is a replacement. So it's not they come into play and then make more tokens. It's as they come into play, it's doubled. And so that matters, and it's crazy. Greaves for protection, asceticism for protection, rapid hybridization, and probably other cards like that. You can hit your own creature during your turn to have that 3/3 frog be something else if you so wish, or it's just good blue removal. Mystic Reflection is fantastic to fight against an Avenger of Zendikar, and also fantastic to turn those tokens into an Avenger of Zendikar if Esix is struggling. Conjurer's Closet is just there to reset token creators or any ETB going on. Season of Growth gets you a lot of scry triggers in this. Birds of Paradise, Sakura Tri Builder, Rampage of the Clans. This card is really cool in here because destroy all artifacts and enchantments for each permanent destroyed this way. Its controller gets a 3/3 green centaur creature token, but you can turn your 3/3 green creature tokens into whatever creature you want as long as Esix is in play. You know, and that's pretty sweet. Beacon of Creation creates a ton of tokens off of 4 mana. Saproling Symbiosis, again, a ton of creatures off of 4 mana. Eternal Witness can get your whole graveyard back if it ends up being that way, but it's just a good solid ETB. Same thing with Wood Elves for land. Gilded Goose creates tokens, also ramp. Curse of the Swine, same thing. You can exile as many creatures as you want, and then if some of them are yours, those two green boars are actually whatever creature you need them to be. That you can. Risen Reef gets crazy because they all see each other, but copying Risen Reef might draw you out. So careful with that. Wave Sifter comes into play. They make the 2 clue tokens, which can copy Wave Sifter and get you a lot of draw. Avenger Zendikar is fantastic as always. Adrix is doubling the tokens. Llanowar Visionary is an ETB draw plus mana. Junk Winder is if you don't have it, get it. It's such a good card. But whenever a token comes into play, tap down a creature and doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. It's crazy. It's a crazy good card, especially if you're copying it. It'll win you the game basically. Druid of Purification is just nice removal. Thassa is a blinker. Pongify, again, is that removal. Coiling Oracle is cheap draw. Ethereal Investigator, it creates 3 clue tokens generally, and then you can turn them into him, and then it's 3, 6, 9 clue tokens. which also makes more tokens. So that's pretty cool. Concordant Crossroads gives all those tokens haste for you. It gives everybody stuff haste, but Utopia Sprawl is a nice, cheap ramp. Garrick Wild Speaker untaps those lands. Essence Flux is a nice. Yeah. I'm having trouble. As a tap plating for protection. Ramp. Removal with Reclamation Sage. Biovisionary is a I win card essentially because you can make copies. Your tokens make copies of Visionary at the end of the turn. You win the game. Ramp Azura's Predation creates a ton of tokens, which is fantastic. Growth Spasm is ramp and a token. Phantasmal Mage is just very flexible and great in here. Arbor Elf untaps the lands. Cryptolith Right. Remember what I was saying, turning those creatures into mana can be really good. Doubling Season for doubling that. You have a Maya Dryad. Great. Wild Growth, yeah. Shamanic Revelation can draw you a ton of cards. Heroic Intervention protects all them creatures. Ugh, we might be in trouble. All right, let's see here. Just a handful more at this point. Icefang Coatl draws card, is nice protection. Crashing Drawbridge is another one of those giving everything haste. Deep Forest Hermit is bonkers because it comes into play, creates 4 of himself, so there's 5, and then it creates 4, 8, 12, 16 more squirrels, and they all get +5/+5. They'll be around for a turn or two. That's a win card. Pest Infestation creates a bunch of tokens. Removal, again, bringing stuff back from the graveyard. Seagate Oracle is kind of a draw. Grazilax, potentially replaying stuff. Beast Whisperer for draw. Beast Within. Ugh. Let's go through that real quick one more time. We're looking for Jaheira. Maybe Clown Car doesn't really make it either, but I would like something else for Jaheira. A little bit more ramp. Can potentially look at ramp cards here or something that seems a little extra. I can run out of cards in this deck pretty quick. Let's see here. Phantasmal Image. So looking. I've had like Essence Flux save me. It's like a protection card as well. Fairhaven Elf, Biovisionary. It's a damn good card. Lazotep Plating creates a token and its protection. Garrick creates a token. I think that's the other thing. Like untapping lands helps me with Utopia Sprawl. And the other thing, like, how much do I care about that? Maybe that's something right there. I'd have to go look at my lands real quick too, but untapping stuff, lands can be pretty good. Ethereal Investigator, some removal, Chuckwinder. Wave Sifter? I'm not like in love with it. It's pretty good though. It's pretty good. Let's see here. Let's see here. Conjurer's Closet. It's nice to have that little bit going on. Augur of Autumn. Again, it's like a draw card in here. Getting rid of lands off the top or playing more creatures. Canaptic. This is more of like a trying it. Aether Channeler is in. Augur of Autumn. Canaptic. Scarab Swarm. I think it's dope. All right. I don't think these two make it, which is aight. Let's see what our lands do actually, though. Is there anything that I'd potentially miss out not having, like being able to untap? Look through that land base. Sacrifice, sacrifice. I don't know if I care about that. Like this untapping would be nice. But if that's the only thing, Treasure Vault creates a bunch of tokens, which is nice. Yeah, for my do I care about? Because I'm just trying to think like if I have like guys cradle in here, there we go. How mean is that? Like being able to untap 2 lands in here, do I care about that? Probably not. Um, and if I have guys cradle out, is that just punching people in the face? This is a creature that I cannot copy, which is a bit frustrating, but I can't untap or I can't copy the enchantment that's doing the same thing. I think there's the potential just for a lot more mana on a consistent basis, putting in Jaheira over Garrick. All right. Slide that in. And that's going to be it for Esix. I'm ahead of schedule here. All right. This is not going to be a 2-hour bit today. So, but I do want to go over the land destruction bit that I took out. But it is a possibility if you're thinking about building Essex and you want to be real mean. There's a land destruction portion. All right, Rashadin, cut purse. So basically, comes into play. Each opponent sacrifices a permanent unless he or she pays 1. Same thing for Footpad, but 2 mana, and then Brigand for 3 mana. But essentially, you get them out quick enough, and people are they have to sacrifice land, and it's pretty brutal. Venser can bounce land, and you can make all of them. It's about making a bunch of tokens about these guys, so it can get pretty brutal. Acidic Slime also, an Agent of Treachery can steal land. So that is the bit right there. And I did that. I was able to get this guy down, and everybody had to sacrifice 3 land on like turn 6, and I won that game. And nobody let me win the rest of the night. So I decided that I can do it. I just don't have to. You know what I mean? Any requests on what we're doing next? We have Muldrotha, Sevinne, Rienne. I'm going to take a quick drink. But I had a schedule. We're going to do pretty good here tonight. All right, let's see here. Let's do Muldrotha real quick. All right, let's get that land out of the way. Actually, go through the land really quick. I normally don't, but I have the time. Fabled Passage. I hope if people wanted to get these, they were gorgeous. I have anything cool in here? I guess Urza Saga, Strip Mine, Man Beacon. So cool thing in Muldrotha, you're able to like use the Kamigawa lands, like channel them away and then bring them back later just as lands. So putting them into your yard is not a bad deal. Also cycle lands, pretty sweet. And then snow lands, bada bing. That's it. All right. Muldrotha is 3 and a black and a green and a blue, 6/6. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell for each permanent type from your graveyard. So sacrificing things for value, removal, all that kind of stuff. One card that I got, we'll see if it fits it in there. Urborg Lurgoyf. This is, you can kick it twice. When it ETBs, if you kicked it, mill 3 cards. So it's not a bad one right there, but its power is equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to that number plus 1. And so it has a potential to get fairly big in here with a lot of creatures going, but there's kind of a back and forth there too. So let's kind of go see what I've taken out. Taking out Sword of Feast and Famine and putting in Ninja's Kunai. Basically, it's just repeatable removal as an artifact because it's one to come out, one to equip, and then you pay one, tap the creature, sacrifice it, deals 3 damage to any target. So kind of like an expensive but repeatable bolt in my mind that's colorless. So thought it was kind of a cool add in here. Taking out Azusa and putting in Transmogrant's Crown because I'm sacrificing creatures. I'll draw cards. It's pretty sweet. Um, Old Stick Fingers. I don't think I ever got to play this. It's able to mill a lot of cards, a lot of creature cards into your graveyard. And it can be a big beater. But I'm going to put in Haywire Might as just more removal for artifacts and enchantments that aren't creatures. Um, so it's going to be sweet because it's a great card. Um, Taking out a land to go down to 37. I've been going down to 37 on 3 colors, and I play 36 lands in 2 color decks. So going down a land and going Triarch Praetorian from the Warhammer 40K decks. And so basically, it is a 2 mana, 2/1 flyer. And then when it enters the battlefield from the graveyard, you draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. You don't even care about the unearth unless you have to, but it can do a lot of drawing for you in this, hopefully. Taking out Solemn Simulacrum and putting in Canaptic Tomb Sentinel, which is 4 mana, 4/3 vigilance. When it ETBs from a graveyard, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent. Now, I don't have a lot of sack outlets here, and so it kind of turns into it has vigilance, so you can attack with it. And if they kill it, then you can replay it and exile something. And if not, then it blocks for days because of the vigilance. So I feel like maybe it does not worried about um the killing it part. So we'll see how that goes. Cutting Teferi Master of Time or whatever. The one that draws a card, discards a card each turn, or yeah, everybody's turn. You can phase stuff out and then take extra turns. So cutting that, and I'm just going for Vohar, Vodilian Desecrator, black and a blue. It taps to draw a card, discard a card, and then you can pay 2, sack it to bring an artifact or an instant or sorcery back to your hand, and then you can recast it, doing the draw discard thing. You're not going to be doing as many cards this way, but it lowers the curve, and you can get instants and sorceries back, which was not able to happen before. Cutting Doom Whisperer, not a bad card by any means. But I feel like I have killed myself or, gotten myself way down with this card more than I'd like. So, gonna put in Angel of Suffering. It's a 5/3. If damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards. And so filling up the graveyard is like drawing cards, and I'd rather do that than take damage, right? Next one, cutting Windfall and putting in Skull Clamp. I don't know why I didn't have that before, but Skull Clamp's gonna be fantastic in here. And those are the switcheroos. So looking for a spot for Urborg. Um, and actually, Angel of Suffering might actually be a decent one. It like looking for something that's going to fill up the graveyard casually. And if I can get, you know, pay 4 to mill 6 and have a big old guy comparative to like a 5/3 that doesn't necessarily mill right then, potential. All right, Consuming Aberration is just a graveyard carrying, but he only mills everybody else, not necessarily you. So that could be something there that goes there too. Might actually be better. I think the other thought was that I do cast a lot of spells, and so I could potentially mill somebody out, but it get real big. That's probably the better card here. Journey to Eternity is fantastic here. Bear Umbra is great protection on Muldrotha, along with untapping more mana. Soul Guide Lantern is nice draw, along with being able to recast it. Crucible of Worlds is just bringing lands back from the graveyard, pretty easy. Outland Liberator, destroying artifacts or enchantments. Necromancy, bringing back creatures. And this is same concept with Consuming Aberration. I cast a lot of spells on a turn, 4, 5, 6. An Aether Flux Reservoir can give me a ton of life there. Gravebreaker Lamia. I don't care about the Entomb effect, but spells casting one less is fantastic. So that goes in there. Graves is nice protection from Muldrotha. Tribe Elder, sacrificing for land. Boots. Profaner of the Dead is nice. Sacrifice a creature and then bounce a bunch of other creatures. So it's nice. Second Chance. During your upkeep, if you have 5 or less life, sacrifice it, take an extra turn, and then recast it. So you kind of get infinite turns with Muldrotha if you're under 5 life. So that's a decent way to go. Win the game. Dance of the Dead, bringing back creatures. Underrealm Lich is a good way to get cards in the graveyard. Baleful Strix is just artifact creature. Draws a card. Kaya's Ghost Form. Put it on Muldrotha or any other creature. And then, it'd be Muldrotha. Muldrotha comes back into play. Recast Kaya. We're good to go. Animate Dead, bringing back that stuff. Colony Heart Expedition is something that sacrifices and go and gets land. Evoke is fantastic. Merit Lage's Slumber. Yep. Yeah. I don't hate any of that. Spellskite. Consider it for any blue deck. Trust me. Priest of Haunting Edge. Sacrifices for removal. At the beginning, you probably saw the Snowlands and a couple of snow-themed things. And then it's nice in here. Lotus Petal just for a little bit of ramp. Shriek Maws that evoke and being able to kill something. Spore Frog is a sackable fog effect. Seal of Primordium is a sackable enchantment artifact. Jeweled Lotus, one of the few decks I have it in, but able to bring it back, speed out Muldrotha pretty quick. Icefang Kotal is one of those snow creatures, drawing cards. Unfulfilled Desires is a great card in here. Fills up the library, draws a bunch of cards. Emrakul, the Promised End, is a sweet game ender here. You're going to fill up the graveyard. Exploration, more lands. Karn Liberated is fantastic removal. Comes into play. -3, exile target permanent. And then the next turn, you exile it, replay it, exile another thing. And it just does some work. Elephant Grass is good protection. Mystic Remora. This one was given to me by Renshai, one of our awesome patrons. And it's gorgeous. So super happy about that. Super appreciative. Caustic Caterpillar is there to sacrifice destroying artifacts, enchantments. Hope of Gurpur is a little bit of protection. Sackable, easily returnable. Ashiok is there. Basically draw 4. Everybody exiles their graveyard. Glissa gets back artifacts on creature's death. Hermit Druid mills pretty quick. Jorn untaps the lands. Kind of like Bear Umbra effect. Soul Ring is nice. Marin brings some creatures back. Lord of the Forsaken. Paying 1 life. Add a colorless. Only to spend cast spells from the graveyard. So perfect in here. Seal of Doom is an enchantment that destroys a creature. Execution's Capital. Capsule actually works really well with Glissa. So how that goes, Glissa is whenever an opponent's creature dies, you get to bring an artifact back from the graveyard. This is an artifact. Pay 2, sacrifice it, destroy target non-black creature. That creature dies. Glissa brings it back. So as much mana, and you can just cycle it through. Tormod, whenever one or more cards leaves your graveyard, you get a bunch of tokens this way. Not a bad deal. Vampire Hexmage does more work than you'd think. So getting rid of big pumped creatures or planeswalkers on a repeatable bit is pretty good. Emery gets them artifacts back. Wayfarer's Bauble, Deathrite, Mindstone. Shoot. All right. I think Consuming Aberration is solid in here. Angel of Suffering. If damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards. So if somebody's beating me, I like that idea a lot more. Urborg is basically just a beater. All right, we can cut that for now. Maybe later, but pretty happy with what we got going on there. All right. Very nice. Very nice. Go with Renee. Let's see what we have here. Oh. What's going on? Did I see here? Must have kind of switched some stuff up a little bit with the lands, but all right. Rienne, Angel of Rebirth, 2 and a red and a green and a white, 5/4 flying. Other multicolored creatures you control get +1/+0. So there's a lot of multicolored going on here. Whenever another multicolored creature you control dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So sacrificing creatures, kind of similar to Muldrotha, but oh, that's a good point. Ugh. All right. The mana rig is going in. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a tapped Power Stone token. And then you can pay XXX, look at the top cards, put 2 of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom. So you want to pay 6, tap it, put 2, the top 2 cards into your hand. It is what it is, but I'm casting a lot of multicolored spells, creates a bunch of tokens that way. And I'm going to be taking out Goblin Bombardment for that. Adding in a Chrome Mox to speed things up. It's a little bit of a slower deck, and taking on a land for that. So down to 37, like I talked about in Muldrotha. Atalan Jackal, multicolored. It's 2/2 trample haste. And whenever it deals damage, you get to go get a basic land, put it in play tapped, then shuffle. And Chaos Warp is coming out for that. I don't know why I made that decision. Probably going to regret that. King Darien is going in from, and basically other creatures getting +1/+0, sacrificing it. There is a minor token theme going on, and so it's just not a bad deal. Sacrifices for protection on them tokens and can come back with Renee. Getting rid of Loxodon Hierarch for that lowers the curve a little bit, gives everything else more of a pump. Don't get to regenerate everything, but it's a free sack versus 2 mana. We'll see. It should be good. Takasia's Welcome is a 3 mana. Whenever one or more creatures with mana value 3 or less enter the battlefield, draw a card. Oh, triggers once. Not a bad deal. And then just taking out Thrill of Possibility for that, I'll get a lot more value off of the enchantment. Hajar, Loyal Bodyguard. Sacrifice that, and that's going in. Legendary creatures, basically Rienne gets +1/+0, gains indestructible until end of turn. And taking out Shielded by Faith, which is just basically always going to Rienne for indestructible. Feeling like it's just a little bit more into multicolored stuff going on. The Golden Throne, adding that in from the 40k decks. If you would lose the game, instead go to 1, and then it can tap, sacrifice a creature, add 3 mana. So it is basically a sack outlet that gets me mana, but can also save my ass. And that will go in place of Nature's Lore. Again, don't know about that, but we'll go with it. Faliji Wayfarer. This one's pretty cool. 2/4. It's all colors. This ability doesn't affect its color identity, and multicolored spell you cast have Convoke. And so most of the cards in here have Convoke. Able to use them even though they just came out, and then sacrifice them. That's going to be some amazing ramp in here, and cutting 3 visits. Again, I don't know about that, but should work. All right, Mana Cannons, enchantment. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of colors that spell is. So generally it's going to be 2, sometimes 3, but generally it's just going to start pegging people. and it's just a cheaper version of Toll Smear, which basically creates it's a more consistent Toll Smear. Toll Smear's there is for the fighting and token creation, a little bit of gain life, but here it's just every turn I'm gonna be able to go like 2, 2, 3, 2. And this is like ETB, fights one creature, and kinda gotta do a lot more work to make it work. So, lowering the the curve is nice. Bringing in Beast Whisperer just for that draw and getting rid of Huntmaster of the Fells, which was another werewolf. This was making it because of Tolsmere, just getting more fights and stuff like that, and a little bit of life gain, and I think just drawing more cards is probably better. Alright, that seems to be it. Let's we can run through the deck real quick too. Crushing today. Came in with a plan, and look at this. Alright. Alright, let's go over the land real quick. I don't think there's anything super special, so we can I guess the lands are multicolored creatures when they become creatures, so +1/+0 from Rienne. Otherwise, I don't know. I like temples. Always have. Don't know about always will. Um, High Market as a sack outlet just to get those multicolored creatures back in the hand. And that's it for land. Let's look at the rest of the deck real quick. All right. Ulash for removal, Goblin on for mana, Faeburrow Elder for mana, Safi for protection a bit on Rienne, and it just kind of comes back. Ronus's Monument lowers the cost of creature spells, and then essentially is trying to pump up Rienne for an attack. Harmonic Sliver, removal. Bloodbraid Elf for kind of card advantage. Guardian Project, same idea. Vithian Renegades is removal. Knight of Autumn is removal. Duger Hedgemage is removal. Rumor Gatherer is scry into draw into scry. Elemental Bond. Nice thing here is that Rienne's buff will be recognized by this. So if a 2/2 comes into play, like Duger Hedgemage, but Rienne is in play, it's a 3/2 and will count Elemental Bond. So drawing a lot more cards that way. Crashing Drawbridge is fantastic in so many decks. Kasali Pride Mage, removal. Park Heights Pegasus is what is it? Card draw? Draw a card. Savala is there for drawing a card. Mirari's Wake is crazy ass card. Dauntless Escort is protection with the indestructible, always comes back to hand. Karametra is some great ramp. General Furious Ruckerick is here for the tokens. Should do a ton of work. Rhythm of the Wild is there for the haste. Shield of the Oversoul is great with Rienne. Sneak Attack is crazy. Cheats the mana. They're getting sacked. Rose Room Treasurer is there for the direct damage. Evolutionary Leap is a sack outlet into more cards. Grand Crescendo is protection. Fanatical Devotion is there. Sack outlet to protect Rienne. Primal Growth is there for sack outlet into mana. Sylvan Library is for draw. Chandra's Ignition is great. Like those one-sided those wraths that leave Rienne behind. That's what I'm looking for in here. So I target Rienne. Everything else gets 5 damage. It's going to kill most creatures. I'm going to get most of my creatures back. Sakura Tribuilder is not going to come back, but it's still a cool one. Knight of New Allura gives everything a boost. Promise of Loyalty is like I'm saying. Rienne sticks around. Everything else is destroyed other than everybody gets one. But Chroma's Will is protection and game winner. Divine Reckoning. Each player chooses one creature, destroys the rest. Soul Ring, birds. Rabble Rousing creates tokens that are green and white. So there are 2/1s instead of 1/1s. Top. Birthing Pod is nice. You sacrifice it's a sack outlet into other creatures. It's kind of what I used to do. I used to go and get like Huntmaster, and then Huntmaster would go get Tolsmere, and then I'd be able to replay with Rienne. And so it was a nice little deal. I don't know if Birthing Pod makes this list anymore, but at this point, it's fine. Skull Clamp again is great. Master of Ceremonies seems like a lot of value. And making green white citizens, so those tokens are 2/1s. Torrens is let's see here. Just another card that's going to get tokens. Storm of Souls is just in case all my creatures are in the graveyard. I get them all back. Nova Blast Worm is nice removal. Dockside is great ramp. Same thing with Blue Tender. Something Beetle, but it reduces the cost of red and white cards by 1. Rocco is a bit of a tutor. Great Henge is nice draw. And Voice of Resurgence is solid card to sack. And that's the deck right there. Pretty quick, pretty easy. Holy shit, we're gonna get done in an hour, I think. All right, we got all them. All right. So that was Rienne. On to Sevinne. Looks like I found a couple other in. Oh yeah, my package came in. So let's go through the land bit real quick, see if there's anything crazy. I don't think there is. Let's see here. This is kind of a flashback deck, and then also a stuffy doll style deck. So, all right. Let's see what we planned on putting in. Okay, Sevinne is 2, a blue, a red, a white, a 2/2. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to Sevinne, and then whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell from your graveyard, each turn copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So a bit of both. Let's see here. Let's talk about some cards that we want to. Let's wait until the end. All right. So fitting in Haughty Djinn, which is a flyer for 3, and then its power is equal to the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard, which can be a lot, which might not be enough. And then instants and sorceries cost 1 less to cast. That is sweet. And then I'm taking out Keeper of the Accord, which is there for just like general like land and tokens, and it's not a bad deal, but I'd rather have the threat of the flyer, if that makes sense. So Keeper of the Accord out. Viren is in, and that's there because that will copy that token. So, or the copy. So if I flash back a spell, I get 2, right? With Viren in play, I'll get 3. And that is very powerful. And we're going to be cutting Ill-Tempered Loner, which is nice in a Blasphemous Act. It deals damage whenever it's dealt damage to any target for its that much damage. So it's a nice card in this deck. Next, Curse of Opulence. Are those the only 2? Those are the only 2 I'm cutting. All right. Let's see how this goes, right? Cards that I want to get in. And I've been working on trying to get Entangler in here forever, because that means Sevinne can block all ground creatures, but Enchanted Creature may block any number of creatures. That does work. I want to get Exocrine in here. So that is Ravenous. So if I get 5 counters on it, it gets to draw a card. But when it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to each player and each other creature. Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. So we'll see if we can fit that in there. Wind Rider Wizard 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell or a wizard spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. I have no problem with looting in this deck, so we will see what happens there. Wandering Mind. 2/1 flyer. When it ETBs, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom. So that allows you to grab like an artifact rock as well. Not a bad deal. Of One Mind. This spell costs 2 less to cast. If you control a human creature and a non-human creature, draw 2 cards. Sevinne is a human, and there are plenty of non-humans in here. So 1 blue mana for drawing 2 cards seems pretty solid. Seems pretty solid. And then Ardent Elements. Elementatists. All right, 4 mana, 2/1. When it ETBs, bring an instant or sorcery back from your graveyard to your hand. So nice and cheap. Let me get a drink in real quick. This is going to end up being the last deck. We'll probably get under an hour here, or at least close. Remember to hit that like button if you have not already. Also, we have a giveaway going on. So if you want to sub and help us get to 1,000, that once we get to 1,000, that will trigger our giveaway of about $1,000 worth of MTG stuff. And so that would be mighty helpful, right? All right, let's run through this deck real quick. Curse of Opulence is there. You curse somebody, you get tokens, you get gold. Arcane Signet is there for manas. A Wayfarer's Bauble, yeah. Smothering Tithe, same thing. I also have a couple of wheels in here, so they all work together nicely there. Is it Signet? I generally prefer talismans, but I think when I built this, I just went with signets. I didn't have enough talismans at the time. All right, Dockside, fantastic. Baral is a reducing the cost of stuff, which is nice. Soul Ring, Strike It Rich, Flashback, creating treasure tokens, Signet, Storm Kill, Azorius Signet, Storm Kill Artist is getting that variant card. Also, let's see here, doubles any any trigger. So Storm Kill Artist is going to create 2 treasures. So variant is going to be quite nice in here. But Storm Kill Artist gets me a lot of manas. Mana Crypt, just because the deck was a bit slow. Sorcerer Glass is fantastic when it comes to drawing and discarding, and also tapping your utility creatures for more mana. Jeskai Ascendancy allows my creatures to untap. So that is nice, but also a draw discard effect. And a pump. So I'm wondering, I like the pump. It's going to be hard to get rid of. It's nice, just draw a discard. Faithless Mending is a nice draw discard with the flash, both of them. Body of Knowledge, when it's dealt damage, draw that many cards. Risk Factor is Jumpstart, so it can be played from the graveyard, which is nice. Wheel of Misfortune, I talked about the wheels. So one thing is I have a lot of looting in here, which isn't necessarily card advantage. And that's why I have Wheel, and Windfall, and that's at least what I have. Deep Analysis is drawing cards with Flashback, Wheel of Misfortune, or Wheel of Fortune. Agar is nice draw. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant wizard or spell you control deals damage to this, draw a card. So I have plenty of surround damage, blasphemous act style cards, so they can draw a ton of cards. Chemist's Insight with the jumpstart is doubled nicely. So the question ends up being with like Wind Rider, is this worth, like, do I need more loot in here? And I don't think so. It'd be nice in here though. I'll admit that it'd be nice in here. Windfall, another wheel effect. Radical Idea has the jumpstart drawing cards. Reflections, something or other. But whenever I cast a spell from my graveyard, I get to draw a card. Dragon's Rage Channeler gets to surveil whenever I cast an instant or sorcery. Not too bad. Think Twice, drawing cards, flashback. Gideon's Sacrifice is fantastic. Choose a creature or planeswalker you control. All damage that would be dealt this turn to you and permanents you control is dealt to the chosen permanent instead if it's still on the battlefield. So I can cast a Blasphemous Act, and then I can do all of that damage onto like onto a stuffy doll. Everybody else's stuff is dying, and somebody's going to die, and it saves all my stuff. It's a crazy ass card. Lightning Greaves is good. Flawless Maneuver is nice because that protects the Boros Reckoners of the world. Boros Charm is there for the Indestructible as well. Swiftfoot Boots, Protection, Shielded by Faith. Getting that on a Sevinne is pretty nice. Pariah redirects all the damage dealt to me to Sevinne, which is kind of the problem with Entangler because I have this, but I'd rather have more effects to do that. Snapcaster Mage, playing stuff from the graveyard. Same thing with Gale. Gale's crazy good. Sevinne's Reclamation is bringing stuff back. You're discarding a lot of cards, and so the flashback being doubled can do a lot. Maybe the best ramp card in the deck, right? Burning Vengeance deals 2 damage every time you cast a card from the graveyard. Harmonic Prodigy is there to double it for Sevinne as well from the graveyard. Same thing with Double Vision. Not a bad deal. And the last little bit, I don't think we're gonna. I think we're gonna be in trouble getting any of this in. Worship is there. Sevinne's hard to kill, or a stuffy doll or whatever. So as long as I have a creature, I can't be killed. That's not totally true. My life total can't go below 1. There we go. Quasi Duplicate is nice to copy a Boros Reckoner. Also Jumpstart, so playing from the graveyard. Boros Reckoner. These are the cards that can redirect that damage. So Boros Reckoner, Spitefill, Sliver, Brash Taunter, Mog, Maniac, Stuffy Doll, and Spite Mare. That's kind of what I went with. So I guess the question ends up being, when it is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target. This is just better. Maybe I didn't. All right. So I think Ill-Tempered Loner is just better than Spite Mare. Just the ability to. We'll do that. Maybe harder to cast per se, but has a bit more to it. So we'll keep that in. Cut out Spite Mare. That at least makes sense to me. Blazing Sunsteel is a same thing with Fiend Lash a little bit. One's power to target player or planeswalker. So this is really good on Stormkiln Artists because Stormkiln Artists can get real big. All right, the Wraths, Star of Extinction, Chain Reaction, Blasphemous Act, Pyrohemia. Those are it, huh? Just them 4. I mean, I'm digging. Chaos Warp, Generous Gift. Light Mind Field is nice because whenever one or more creatures attack, it deals damage to each of those attacking creatures equal to the amount of attacking creatures. And so you can like attack with your Boros Reckoners, like all your creatures, and then potentially deal some damage there. Oh, Subterranean Tremors also deals damage to a lot of stuff and gets rid of artifacts. And then Visions of Ruin as flashback, getting rid. Shoot. I don't know if there's I think Wind Rider Wizard just kind of goes. I'm not worried about that necessarily. Same thing with Ardent Elementalist. And I'm probably okay cutting Wandering Mind and Of One Mind, even though I really like this. I don't think they really work here. But these two I want to fit in here. Let's go through and see if we can get them in one more time. Otherwise, we're just gonna just call it a night. All right. Subterranean Tremor, Light Mind Field, Visions. The problem is like it's hard to cut something with flashback or something defensive. So like Worship could be cut for Entangler, but Worship I think is just a better card in here. Generous Gift, Chaos Warp, I mean, the removal's really nice. I don't have a lot like artifact removal, anything removal with these two things. And then we have creature with light minefield, star of extinction, chain reaction, pyrohemia, fiend lash, blazing sunsteel, ill tempered. That's gonna be tough. Worship, double vision, harmonic prodigy, burning vengeance. I look at as a bit of removal rather than because it's creature player. Sevinne's reclamation, Gale. Gale did a lot of work when we streamed this deck. Pariah's really nice. Shielded by Faith is some protection. So is that like getting this on one of those like Boros Reckoner type cards is really good too. Like it just becomes a dangerous blocker. Boros Charm, Flawless Maneuver, Lightning Greaves, getting Sacrifice. Think twice. Nope. Draw a card. Do I care about that? And then we just have a lot of draw card stuff. Just trying to move through the deck in here. And that's kind of part of it. Is just trying to move through the deck to be able to get into the late game and be able to draw or flashback a ton of cards. All right. Is there something that maybe something in the draw where I can just cut it? Hmm. I wonder. Oh, that's good though. Instant speed. That is problematic. I like the boost. I like. Viren, Haughty Jin. 2. Strike it rich. Oh boy. All right. I don't think I have a spot for him. I'm going to keep him with the deck, but I can cut the other ones. But I think these two would be really good. Be good if I can find a spot for them. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody for coming out and checking out the stream. And hopefully you like the idea of some of the decks, what was going on, some of the couple cards that were going in. And all right. Hopefully you have a good night. Bye.